Michael D'Orenzio. He's president and CEO at the Silver Institute. Michael, hi, thank you so much for joining in. And clearly, silver is what is basking in sunlight right now. We've seen gold prices run up quite strongly. Would you call this near-term technical fundamental breakout that we've seen in silver as a catch-up to what gold has done?
It is. It's making a run, and we thought this would happen in 2025. I mean, just look at the price movements today. I mean, we're up about, what's the percentage? 3%, almost 4% today, above $36 US. I think the fundamentals are all lining up together for a nice run in the silver price and a sustained silver price.
Well, Michael, but silver hit an all-time high on, January 1980 at around $49 and a half out there. And then in April 2021, it went all the way closer to around that $49 an ounce mark. And since then, you have gold that's traded in that range of around $1,630 or thereabouts. And it's breaking out a little bit now. What's your sense on prices?
Well, as I've mentioned, we don't really give price predictions, but as I said earlier, the fundamentals are so strong right now. I mean, we're having a really great year with respect to industrial demand, and that's because the consumer electronics sector really continued sustained growth for AI and high performance computing. And we're seeing in Asia a real strong rebound in the smartphone market. So this is all adding up for a strong silver price throughout the year. And quite frankly, there's a lot of uncertainty still since we last spoke with the US, China tariffs across the board. And that's adding another degree of uncertainty to the market. And it appears to me that investors are looking at the white metal as a way ahead, as a hedge, and they're basing that on the strong fundamentals.
Well, yes, Michael, almost everybody is very, very bullish when it comes to the silver prices going forward there. But how are you looking at the deficit? Because we've been talking about deficit for 4 years now, but this is only in 2025, a fifth straight year of deficit, that we finally are looking at prices breaking above $30 an ounce. We've seen 36.5, 37 in works perhaps. What kind of a deficit one are we looking at 2025? And is your sense that 2026 could also be yet another year of deficit going forward?
It very well could continue into 2026. We're looking at a deficit of about 150, 145 million ounces of silver this year. That's up from what we had projected earlier in the year of about 120. And the reason is because the real issue is mine supply. We had several projects online to come to the market this year. One of those is already rolling. The other two are not. So that's going to impact overall mine supply. And we think we're going to have a record industrial demand, global demand. And one of the reasons why that's going to happen is not just on the industrial side, but on the investment side. We're seeing strong demand both for retail silver, physical bars, physical coins in the West. Even Germany is catching up to some of its previous record years with respect to bullion coins and their bullion bar products. But where we're really seeing it, and India is a key player in this, is in exchange-traded funds, exchange-traded products. India is really holding its own. As of now, it's up 4% on the year globally, and that's going to add to further global overall demand.
Well, Michael, I want you to touch upon a little bit more on the industrial demand side of things, because in 2025, there are already a couple of challenges, right? You have the tariff-related slowdown. There is a lot of uncertainty as well. So how do you see demand shape up from here on?
As of June 5th, we're holding to our over 700 million ounces of global silver demand, industrial demand this year, which would be another record. And global demand, as I mentioned, will be higher than it was last year, over 1.1 billion ounces. And look at the market fundamentals are quite strong, as I've mentioned. And we see another year of deficits. We see industrial demand hitting a record. The investment side of the equation is really picking up steam through the first 5 months of this year. And we're quite encouraged about the remainder of 2025 and as we move into 2026 later this year.
Michael, I take your point when you say that there's a lot of investment and physical buying when it comes to silver, and not just physical, but ETFs really seem to be picking up as well, and not just in Asia, but Germany and US and Canada as well. But when we talk about this category, we do understand that it is part industrial metal as well. Where do you see that percentage or that ratio stand right now, investment vis-a-vis the industrial demand?
Well, the other categories are going to have jewelry, silverware, and investment, right? So, as I mentioned, we think the silver price is still going to attract many, many investors. We're up 21% on the year alone, and that's after another good year with respect to a price rise last year. And on the industrial side, everything's coming together, Manisha. And we think that there are some potential issues down the road with the US-China tariffs. But let's not forget that the whole world is producing silver. They're using silver, and they're looking at it as an investment. And we're even seeing strong institutional investor interest in silver, which really was one of the missing equations with respect to a higher silver price.
Well, Michael, if I speak to a gold bull, they'll say that it's very, very right that gold has outpaced silver. However, the silver bulls, they have a strong point. They say that that ratio between gold and silver, it peaked out at more than 100, and they're expecting it to normalize in that 60 to around 70 odd bracket. Where do you see the gold-silver ratio settling at?
Well, I think those numbers are going to catch up. I mean, look at all the indicators are pointing that ratio is going to shrink as we move through the year. Look at gold has had a fantastic year, right? It's up about 23, 24%. We're right behind it at 21%. Okay. So, we would need the gold price to come down and the silver price to accelerate. But the fact of the matter is that while there are some investors who look at that ratio and use it as a key pivot point with respect to investing into either metal, we're confident that number is going to shrink as we move through the year.
All right, that's quite positive for the silver bulls there. But Michael, India is one of the largest importers of silver, as it were. How would you look at the import numbers? We seem to be getting higher on production as well, but some years has been 3,000 tons, and some year we've seen year before we've seen 10,000 tons of imports into Indian markets as well. What's your sense on where we would average this year and the next now?
Well, I think India is going again to be a strong player in the market. I think what we're seeing, though, is that we're having a slowdown in the imports of silver into India, down by somewhat 60% through the first 4 months of this year. But there's ample carryover stock from the end of 2024, which has helped to meet the ongoing and sustained demand. You got premium issues there of about 20 cents, 30 cents per ounce. And then we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown in the jewelry and silverware demand sectors in India. And that's because of the elevated silver price in rupee terms. But one real great bright spot has been gold-plated silver jewelry. It's been very, very robust in India in 2025. We think that trend is going to continue through the year. But let's not make any mistake about it. India is such an important country to the global silver market, and we keep a close eye on it.
I get your point there, Michael. India is not buying as much gold as it is buying silver. And Nigel, as he said, India is buying jewelry, but gold-plated silver jewelry. So we know where to put our money right now. But Michael, this one is on the Indian production itself as well, where we have seen numbers continue to increase up. How are you stacking that up?
Yeah, look, I do see that increasing. They slipped from the third position to, I believe, number 4 in 2024. But that's just because of other companies that had produced more silver in regions where these mining facilities were coming online. Hindustan Zinc is a leader across the globe in the production of silver. okay? And they're not going anywhere. And I had some great meetings with the CEO in India just in April, and we love working with them, and we like working with all of our counterparties in India. And we think India is going to have a great year.
All right, let's focus on the India perspective. India imports around 3,000 tons and then, 10,000 tons or thereabouts. So how do you see the India silver market dynamic shaping up?
Yeah, look, I do see that increasing. You know, they slipped from the third position to, I believe, number 4 in 2024, but that's just because of other companies that had produced more silver in regions where these mining facilities were coming online. Hindustan Zinc is a leader across the globe in the production of silver. Okay, and they're not going anywhere. And I had some great meetings with the CEO in India just in April, and we love working with them, and we like working with all of our counterparties in India. And we think India is going to have a great year.
Michael, thank you so much for joining in. And we've just heard Michael say that Hindustan Zinc is a strong player in silver production. And as global demand for silver continues to rise, we will be looking at very positive numbers coming in there.